For more than 100 years, archaeological excavations and research have been going on in Egypt. During this time, many astounding finds have been discovered, which have even changed the idea of the history of ancient Egypt, but among them there are those that have frightened researchers. Many believe that they are cursed and bring misfortune to everyone who touches them. Is this really the case? In this video, I will tell you about the most incredible discoveries in Egypt throughout history. A mummy with a golden tongue. In the year 2021 in Egypt, archaeologists unearthed a mummy with a golden tongue. Its approximate age is estimated at 2,000 years. The team of archaeologists found 16 burials in tombs carved into the rock. Inside there were poorly preserved mummies. It is believed that the dead were given gold foil amulets in the shape of tongues so that they could speak before the judgment of the god Osiris in the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians believed that Osiris was the lord of the underworld and the judge of the dead. Scientists also discovered funerary marble masks and several gold coins bearing the name of Queen Cleopatra of Egypt. Tutankhamun's tomb. The tomb of Tutankhamun in the Egyptian Valley of the Kings is probably the most famous archaeological discovery not only in Egypt, but also in the world. It was discovered by a team of archaeologists in the year 1922. The tomb contained fantastic treasures, including the death mask of Tutankhamun and his mummy. A century ago, this find immediately caused a stir in the newspapers. Many journalists claimed that the mummy contained an ancient curse. Tutankhamun became famous, in particular, because he died as a teenager. Analysis of his remains showed that he suffered from various health problems and walked with a cane. Tutankhamun reigned for less than 10 years in the 14th century BC. Legend has it that the tomb was protected from encroachment by a terrible curse that killed anyone who dared to enter and disturb Tutankhamun's peace. Indeed, less than a year after the discovery, the head of the expedition, Lord Carnarvon, died of mosquito bites. Many people naturally thought that a curse had been triggered. Moreover, shortly before the archaeologist's death, his dog also died. All these events cemented the reputation of Tutankhamun's tomb as being cursed. Many years later, researchers dispelled this myth. They collected information about several dozens of participants in that expedition and found that their life expectancy was no different from the average, and they died of natural causes. By the way, if you like such videos with interesting finds, then do not forget to put your likes. A mysterious city under the water. For many centuries there has been a legend about the mysterious city of Heraklion. It was mentioned in some ancient Egyptian records. However, for thousands of years it was deep underwater. After years of searching, exploring a vast area of the Gulf off the coast of Egypt, a French archaeologist and his team saw a huge stone face at the bottom of the sea. This was only the beginning of a grand discovery. Among the underwater ruins were 64 ships, treasures, gold coins, huge statues, and even the remains of a massive temple. The ruins and artifacts are well preserved and give the idea that 2,300 years ago this site was one of the largest port cities in the world. Heraklion controlled all the trade in Egypt. The city was similar to modern Venice. It consisted of a large number of islands, which were separated by canals. The main mystery remains the cause of the death of this place. So far, scientists do not fully understand the reason why the huge Heraklion was submerged. In the year 1939, the archaeologist Pierre Monti found the tomb of Susens I, the pharaoh who ruled Egypt some 3,000 years ago. But the most interesting detail of this find is that the pharaoh was buried in a coffin made of silver, and he was also wearing a gold funeral mask. Because of this finding, Susens became known as the Silver Pharaoh. Also, vessels were found in the tomb, in which some of the pharaoh's organs were placed. Because the tomb was discovered at the beginning of World War II, it received little media attention. One of the main mysteries of this find is the unprecedented wealth of the discovered burial site, because silver is a much rarer type of precious metal for ancient Egypt than gold. That is, the luxury of the tomb indicated that the pharaoh was very successful in financial and political matters during his reign. However, Susens was not, which has caused many questions on the part of historians. The mummy of Ramses II. Many historians call Ramses II the most powerful pharaoh in the history of Egypt. He ruled for 6 decades in the 14th century BC, lived more than 90 years and by rough estimate fathered more than 100 children. His body was originally buried in the Valley of the Kings, as it should have been for a pharaoh, but the ancient Egyptian priests moved it to prevent marauders. At the end of the 19th century, the mummy of Ramses II was discovered in a secret royal cache along with the mummies of more than 50 other members of the ancient Egyptian nobility. In recent decades, the condition of the mummy of Ramses II began to deteriorate badly, and today a lot of work is required by specialists to preserve the artifact. Rosetta Stone. In the year 1799, historians discovered in Egypt a mysterious stone with inscriptions in 3 different languages, and the scholars knew only one of these languages, Greek, but because the Greek inscription conveyed the same decree as the other 2 languages, it helped the scholars decipher the unfamiliar languages. The Rosetta Stone contained a decree written by a council of priests that confirmed the right of Pharaoh Ptolemy V to rule Egypt. Pharaoh was 13 years old at the time. A scientific team accompanying a military expedition led by Napoleon found the stone in 1909. The stone was later seized by the British and is now in the British Museum. The Egyptians have been asking for the stone to be returned to its original homeland for many years, but have always been refused. The Valley of the Golden Mummies. In the mid-90s of the last century, a group of archaeologists excavated a large burial site near Cairo. Initially about 100 mummies were found, some of which had gold masks on their faces and gold plates on their chests, while others were simply covered with clay or cloth. Since then, hundreds more mummies have been found in the area, but scientists are confident that this is not all. They speculate that the total number may be up to 10,000, and that they are about 2,000 years old. The large number of mummies buried with gold masks and expensive jewelry indicates that this area several thousand years ago was home to a fairly wealthy population. The Lost Golden City. In the year 2021, the Lost Golden City was found south of the Egyptian capital, Cairo. It is one of the largest ancient cities ever discovered by archaeologists in the country and one of the most significant finds since the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb a century ago. According to preliminary calculations, the city is 3,000 years old, with several districts, intact high walls and even a bakery. The mummy of Amenhotep. Egyptian scientists with the help of modern technology were able to uncover the secrets of the mummy, whose age is estimated at about 3,500 years. The mummy of Amenhotep I was discovered more than a century ago. Usually the mummies of pharaohs were not covered with anything, but the mummy of Amenhotep was covered with a dense layer of cloth. Over the last 100 years, scientists have never dared to remove the cloth and the mask so as not to damage the contents of the mummy. Only in the year 2021, specialists from the University of Cairo used 3D computer tomographs to reveal what was under the layers of clothing. The scan allowed us to examine the body of Amenhotep I with unprecedented detail. For example, scientists were able to find out that Amenhotep was about 35 years old at the time of his death. The cause of his death is not fully known. Researchers could not find traces of violent death or any disease, so it is not yet completely clear why Pharaoh Amenhotep died. Tomb KV5. It is the largest tomb ever found in Egypt, and although archaeologists discovered it a long time ago, in the first half of the 19th century, the present study of this find only began 25 years ago. This tomb belonged to the children of Pharaoh Ramses II. It is a veritable complex of 70 burial rooms. They branch off from the main corridor and contain thousands of clay crocks, jewels and a large statue of the god Osiris. The news of the discovery of this tomb was a real sensation for archaeologists. Papyrus from the Pyramid Age. In 2013 years, a group of archaeologists announced the discovery of a port built along the Red Sea about 4,500 years ago during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu. Among the finds are papyri that describe the construction of the Great Pyramid at Giza, the largest pyramid ever built. The papyri say that limestone used for the external facing of the Great Pyramid was delivered to Giza by the Nile River and canals from the quarry. According to the papyri, one trip by boat to deliver limestone took about 4 days. Oxyrhynchus papyri. Another remnant of ancient papyri that truly amazed scientists. In the period from 1896 to 1907 year, archaeologists found more than 500,000 fragments of papyri, which are about 1,800 years old. Researchers found fragments in the ruins of Oxyrhyn, a major ancient city in southern Egypt that flourished while Egypt was under Roman rule. The city's arid conditions meant that the papyri used by the inhabitants lasted nearly 2 millennia. The papyri include the Christian gospel, magical incantations, and even a contract to organize a wrestling match. Although scholars have been deciphering these papyri for more than 100 years, many of them remain untranslated and may well hold many secrets and mysteries. The Pyramids of Giza. Undoubtedly, these pyramids are one of the main discoveries of scientists in Egypt. The image of these pyramids from the suburbs of Cairo is known to absolutely everyone. It is there where the famous Big Sphinx is located. Inside these pyramids are many rooms and hidden rooms, and the complex itself is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Also subscribe to the channel and click on the bell to always be aware of new videos and leave your comments under this video.